few products arrived with more hype.
People saying, maybe not, I'm going to go entirely vegetarian, but I'm looking for ways to eat less meat. This was one of the good options that came available on the marketplace.
It was rather exciting.
In 2019 and 20, the sale of plant-based products grew by nearly 40%.
So people were excited to try it.
Investors flocked, fast food outlets rushed to add products to their menus, and consumers were curious.
Well, I thought it was great. I mean, to have a burger that actually tastes like meat, because I'm a rather recent vegetarian.
Imagine biting into a slice of pizza, and instead of gooey melting cheese, you're left with a gummy, grainy layer that clings to your teeth like wet cardboard. That's not just a bad meal, it's a tactical failure in your kitchen operations.
Many large traditional meat producers scaled back planned production, and plant-based items disappeared from many menus.
When it comes to food service, it's definitely niche. And certainly any of us my colleagues and I who work in the industry,
the risk of trying to do a perfect analog is that if you're not quite as good, if you don't deliver on that promise, then people say, I tried it, been there, done that, I'm going to go back to what I like.
Never thought it would be anything more than a niche.
Here we go.
For vegetarians, a key initial target audience, taste and concerns about the additives in many of the products drove them away. For meat eaters, most went back to just eating burgers.
Today we're exposing the plant-based imposters that sabotage your taste buds, and we'll reveal the rare options that actually perform under fire. Stay with us, because knowing which foods to avoid is the difference between mission success and mealtime disaster. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video.
Experts say there is still a place for plant-based foods, and predict the biggest area for growth is with consumers concerned about the impacts of beef production. The industry predicts measured growth in coming years as more innovative products emerge. Ewing says that when it comes to what Canadians put on their barbecue, beef or plant-based, taste.
You're seeing continuous improvement with existing products, new products coming to market, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't taste good, consumers aren't going to buy it again.
Picture deploying what looks like a strong weapon in your culinary arsenal, only to watch it jam the moment you engage. That is the reality for several plant-based foods that promise firepower but collapse under heat, seasoning, and stress. On the surface, these substitutes look like dependable resources, engineered to stand in for meat, cheese, or bread. They pass casual inspections with shiny packaging and bold claims, but once tested in a real kitchen, they expose fatal flaws. They don't just crack at the edges. They misfire at the very moment they need to function. What you're left with is not a minor disappointment, but mission failure on the plate. Take the widely promoted vegan cheese shreds. They sit in store coolers with words like melty and stretchy splashed across the front. Bring them home, load them onto fresh dough, fire the oven, and wait for that classic transition where dairy turns liquid before tightening into golden strands.
Back in the day, people really thought that the animal meat industry would be similarly disruptive.
The IPO was the expectation that plant-based meat could achieve a similar market share in the meat market that plant-based beverages achieved in the cow's milk market.
Ultimately, I think it was the fact that the products weren't as craveable as animal meat and are still somewhat more expensive than animal meat.
Compared to traditional meats, many plant-based alternatives cost more on a relative basis, which can deter consumers from making a switch to meatless options.
The result should be the ultimate field test of a cheese substitute. Instead, the shreds hold their shape longer than they should, then collapse into a thick, pasty film with the texture of glue. The slice looks finished, but the first bite tells the truth. The oils and starches fused into a gummy coating that clings to the teeth rather than blending with the crust. The failure comes down to chemistry. Dairy proteins interact under heat in ways that plant oils and starches cannot replicate. It's like a weapons platform cleared during inspection drills, but unable to fire once combat begins. Performance matters at the point of contact, and here performance does not exist. The next candidate is the black bean burger. On paper, this ration would seem strong. Beans provide protein, fiber, and nutrients needed to keep a meal balanced. The patties often appear thick and well-shaped right before meeting the pan or grill. But when heat does its work, their shortcomings surface quickly. Binding agents are weak, the structure turns to crumbs, And what should operate like a standard burger collapses the moment teeth apply pressure. Instead of juicy cohesion, the bite gives way to a chalky dryness. Unless the cook reinforces the patty with salsa, avocado, or some other hydrating asset, it performs like a squad with no supply line. Nutritious in theory, inadequate in practice, these patties demonstrate that calories alone do not equal effectiveness. The mission requires flavor and texture under field conditions, not just nutritional labels. Then comes seitan, the wheat gluten product marketed as the ultimate protein stand-in. Its advocates often call it wheat meat, promising chew and density that should mirror beef or chicken. When prepared perfectly with careful marination and proper heat, seitan can resemble a solid recruit, but the margin of error is razor thin. Overcook it by a few minutes or neglect the seasoning stage, and it transforms into a slab of chewy rubber. Fork and knife slice through reluctantly. Teeth grind against fibers that resist breaking down. And what should function like tender flesh behaves more like synthetic boot sole. Rather than anchoring the mission, it renders the meal a chore to finish, showing how poor adaptability under stress neutralizes whatever promise the raw forms seem to hold. The cauliflower crust pizza presents itself as a strategic solution for those wanting a lighter or gluten-free option. The crust often comes frozen, pressed into a familiar circular shape, held together with egg or starch plugs meant to solidify during baking. At first glance, it looks serviceable, yet once heavy toppings land, the cheese, vegetables, and sauce, it caves. The slice cannot maintain structure when lifted. Toppings slide off, and the crust bends like a poorly reinforced bridge straining under heavy armor. By the second bite, the meal becomes a pile of loose parts on the plate, requiring a fork to finish what was supposed to be handheld. The cost is higher, the result less stable, a trade not worth making. From sticky cheese substitutes to collapsing bean patties, rubbery seitan, and brittle cauliflower crusts, the pattern repeats. Products designed to mimic real foods fail when scrutinized under real conditions. These are not small flaws in the margin, but full breakdowns that transform promising meals into compromised operations. The message is clear. Reliability can't be based on promises. It must show itself on the plate. And while many of these candidates surrender under pressure, there are rare plant-based allies that actually hold fast, performing like seasoned veterans ready to carry the mission forward. Most ultra-processed plant-based foods function like faulty gear. They look impressive on the shelf, yet in action, they break down, leaving the mission unsupported. The rare exceptions prove that simplicity holds the line. A portobello burger delivers structure without collapsing, while cashew Alfredo provides richness without turning gummy. Both succeeding because they rely on whole food integrity rather than engineered starches and oils. Treat your choices like battlefield selections. Test reliability, avoid weaknesses, and keep only what earns trust under heat. Mission success at the dinner table comes from preparation and smart allies. Choose them carefully. The outcome depends on it.